Good morning. Unfortunately, I can't see everybody in this meeting other than Marlon. Quick introduction to myself. My name is Dirk Rittmueller. I'm the responsible product manager for the respiratory part, Drive Medical, and I will tell you a few things today about our iGo2, the portable oxygen concentrator. I will switch in a second to the presentation. If you have any questions, just let me know. But we have as well at the end of the presentation an answer and question session. All right. Let me quickly share my screen. Okay. Now everybody should see my screen. Can you just nod, Marlon? Perfect. Okay. Quick introduction to the iGo2, our portable oxygen concentrator. Let me move on. The iGo2 is our portable concentrator, which was developed with some new and innovative technology. One of those features we have integrated is Smart Dose. That completely created a new class within the portable oxygen concentrator range we have today on the market. That said, the iGo2 automatically adjusts the oxygen delivery bolus rate to the patient's changing breathing frequency, which is very important, and we will learn a little bit more about that with the next couple of slides. The iGo, in addition, impresses with its modern and innovative design, is offering numerous advantages, and which ensures a reliable and mobile oxygen supply. Before we even start, it's quite important to give you some hard facts, some specifications about the product, because these questions are quite often raised. What is the weight of the product? The weight is 2.2 kilos. The dimension you will see anyway on your table. You will have a hands-on presentation after my presentation. So the maximum O2 production is 1,100 milliliters per minute. And delivered with an oxygen purity of 90+%. We have two prescription settings possible with the device. One is the standard pulse dose from 1 to 5, and the new feature Smart Dose 1 to 5 SD. The maximum breath rate is limited to 40 breaths per minute with this device, and the sound level is roughly at 37 dBA, typically at setting 2. The device is developed in a way that it works without any problems on an operating atmospheric pressure range to 3,200 meters. That's the height we guarantee. No setting changes are required. The battery duration, one of the very important aspects of a portable oxygen concentrator is with one battery is 4.45 hours. At setting 2 and 20 breaths per minute. And if you use it with a double battery, we can deliver 9 hours at setting 2 and 20 breaths per minute. Very important to understand, this device can be used in an aircraft. So this device is airline approved. Airline usage approved. There is a standard which every manufacturer has to follow if the device will be used in an aircraft, and that is the RTC ADO 160G. It's even longer, that title, but I don't want to bore you to death. Next one. Scope of delivery, you will see this anyway in the hands-on, but just a quick overview. That's the device. It's delivered with a carrying case, a carry strap, and the battery. DC cord, an AC cord, different kind of AC cords, and the switch mode power supply, which can be used everywhere around the globe. just to tell you a little bit about the control panel. Right, as you can see, that control panel, we have the oxygen outlet. That's where you attach the nasal cannula. We have prescription settings. We have, if you switch on the device, you see the unit hours. We have the special feature, very easy to use by using this key here as the smart dose. We have an alarm mute button and the on-off button. Everything is pretty clear. No, not a lot. There are no submenus for the patient, so the usage of this device is extremely easy. Other parts we need to have a look at is the air intake and the exhaust vents. We have that on both sides of the device. This is making sure if the patient is carrying the device and is blocking one side of the product, we still have on the other side air intake and exhaust vents to have a good ventilation with the device. Micro USB is for the service guys, and here we have the battery attached into the device and the access for the power supply. Features and benefit about the product. As you can see, in terms of the device design, we have an integrated protective overmold. This material, and you will feel that later on with the hands-on, is a different material as it is used with the hard case, with the other part of the case. This is soft, this is hard. And that makes sure that if the device is bumped against the wall, dropping down the table, has no issues, technical issues or broken components. And that is as well reflected with a recessed O2 outlet, so this will not break if the patient drops the device. The LCD screen is as well drop protected because it is recessed, and in addition to that, it's vertical patient facing, so the patient always sees what's going on with the device. In addition to that, we are using a so-called pressure vacuum technology, PVSA, which is making sure that there is no humidity left in the seatbeds. And that means that we have a high seatbed efficiency. The ease of use was very important when we developed this device, because the patient finally has to use it without any issues. So the battery is extremely easy to access from the top of the carrying case, making the battery change out easy for your patients with dexterity issues, for example. And you will see how easy that is. Some other manufacturers, they have the battery on the bottom of the device, hidden with the carrying case, which makes it more complicated for the patient to change the battery. In addition to that, we made sure that the weight of the battery is not too heavy, because every gram in addition with the device is not ideal for the patient who has to carry the product. Already mentioned the vertical and recessed LED screen. The device can stay in the bag. You don't have to take the unit out if you change the battery, for example. You just open the zipper a little bit and pull it out and stick in the new battery. User-friendly, high-resolution LCD display. For sure, we have here quite often elderly patients. They have to understand what's going on with the device. So it is important not to have a very complicated information screen. So if we have two models available, one with Bluetooth, one without Bluetooth. In that example, we see the Bluetooth display. So if the Bluetooth model is used, you have a little Bluetooth icon top left corner. If Smart Dose is activated, you will see in addition that little SD icon in the display. We have O2 concentration purity indicators. In that case, the oxygen concentration is good. Very obvious check mark. We have another icon which shows the warm-up phase if the device was just switched on, and other informations which will illuminate it or shown on demand. In addition to that, we have the settings 1 to 5, very simple. and a battery status indicator, which shows you the battery status in percent. And the user manual reflects then what it means, 83% in terms of hours. As already mentioned, the iGo2 is available as an optional device with Bluetooth, and that allows access to all the essential device information on your smartphone using the SmartLink O2 application. So what does the patient sees what is the information the patient sees on his smartphone while remaining battery life. Very important. If the patient is, for example, using the device in a backpack, he doesn't have to take the backpack always off and open the device and pull it out of the backpack. If he uses the app, he always sees exactly how long his battery is still working. Oxygen quality, if the purity has achieved, therapy settings, operation and usage hours, system information, firmware version, serial number. That is on a separate screen, so we don't want to confuse the patient with the first screen displayed. And then we have this optional remote function via the My SmartLink cloud server. So all the information, if the patient is using the app, will be transmitted to the account on the server, and then the service provider has an easy access and can easily do a remote diagnosis. That can be as well done by the physician, by the doctor, and because we show as well the breath rate and the usage of the device, which is quite important information. A POC is helping and is allowing the patient more freedom. It is very important to understand the differences in oxygen delivery. We have cylinders, oxygen cylinder deliveries. We have liquid oxygen deliveries. All of these systems do require service or help from the provider. With a POC, the patient can leave the house, can go on vacation, can use it in an airplane without any issues. And if he has a longer duration on the road, he can always have a spare battery with him. And as we just learned at the beginning, that will allow him probably 9 hours of usage, which is a long time for a patient. So to make sure that this freedom, that we can allow this freedom, you have to have an interchangeable battery, an external battery charger, so that the patient can always charge his spare batteries. We have a 12-volt DC adapter, which can be used in the car, so the device can be used when the patient is driving. It will charge the device and the patient can use it while he is driving. To make the life really easy, we have a switch mode power supply, which can be used all around the globe. You just have to have the different power cords available or adapters for the specific country. But not to forget our new backpack, which is a very comfortable way to carry the device. You can't even feel the 2 kilos on your back. And this backpack was designed in a way that we have a good ventilation with the device and not heating up the patient's back. Some technical features: trigger sensitivity. Trigger sensitivity with a portable oxygen concentrator or a pulse dose system is extremely important. You have to have a high sensitivity to prevent false triggering in the case of the patient mouth breathing, talking, light breathing while the patient sleeps. You have to make sure that the oxygen delivered is delivered within the first in the first seconds of the in the first moment of the inspiration. If you have a delay, oxygen will deliver when it's no more when it's not really used anymore. And to achieve that, we have a trigger sensitivity of 0.05 centimeter H2O, which is extremely sensitive. But our technology allows to differentiate between nasal cannula movement and real patient breathing, so that is not a problem. So compared to the market, we have a 4 times more sensitive trigger and 4 times more sensitive POC than other manufacturers offering at the market. The auto breathe feature is another important feature you have to have with the POC. That auto breathe feature is triggering an automatic pulse if no breath is detected. So if the patient, for example, he has kinked his tubing, his nasal cannula, and the device doesn't receive any breath trigger, then after 60 seconds, the device starts automatically to pulse oxygen, because it might not only be a kinked nasal cannula, it could be as well that the patient has a very wide open mouth or other situations where he is not triggering properly. There is an alarm, an audible alarm, a beep, which tells the patient that something is wrong. The device doesn't get a trigger from the patient, and it pulses every 3 seconds, which is reflecting a breath rate of 20 breaths per minute. At the moment the patient starts breathing again, so it's triggering the device again, this feature will be turned off. Overall, that adds a level of safety for the patient, making sure that he always gets enough oxygen delivered. Just a quick information how to set the patient settings and how and to reflect how easy it is. So if the patient has switched on the product, the device, simply use the minus and plus button to set the prescription setting. Extremely easy. If the patient wants to use Smart Dose, then very simple, just click on the Smart Dose key here, and immediately it will be displayed in the device display, and it's activated. So very simple. Let's talk about a little bit about Smart Dose and what that means. Smart Dose is a way to deliver more oxygen when the patient's activity has increased by automatically increasing the delivery setting of the device during increased activity and restoring the delivery setting when the activity has returned to normal. How do we determine that increased activity? Well, we monitor the patient's breathing from an established baseline or the normal breath rate. When the breath rate increases by a predetermined amount above the normal breath rate, the delivery setting is increased. And we will see this a few slides later, what that means. When the patient breath rate returns to normal, the original delivery setting is restored. When the POC is in use and the patient's breathing is constantly monitored to deliver a bolus of oxygen during the most effective part of the inhalation cycle. So we're taking care of the patient's breathing. We recognize when there is a change, when there's a significant change, we increase or we decrease based on the situation, based on the breath rate. Here I thought it's quite important. Most of you may know that already, but the background of a bolus delivery and why it is working. The left curve, the left breath shows the constant flow. Here, the green line here is 2 liters per minute continuous flow, which is, for example, delivered by a stationary concentrator. And to show you a little bit of a math, we have 20 breaths per minute, an I/E ratio of 1:2, which means we have 1 second of inspiration and 2 seconds of expirations. We have the 2 liter per minute continuous flow, which is reflected as 2000 milliliters per divided by 60 seconds. That means we have, with the inspiration, a bolus of 33.3 milliliters per second. In other words, the 33 milliliters per second, that is the amount of oxygen delivered with the inspiration. But the inspiration does consider as well anatomic dead space. That is calculated by and measured by 11 milliliters. So overall, the patient gets a bolus of 22, or an amount of oxygen delivered with continuous flow of 22 milliliters. And that part here is basically wasted oxygen. And yes, we still have a little bit oxygen left here at the end of the expiration, but overall, this oxygen is wasted. With the pulse dose system, we have exactly the same method ongoing, but with the pulse dose system, there is no continuous flow. We just deliver the required 22 milliliters at the moment the patient starts with the inspiration. And that means we have 100% effective use of the oxygen, while it's not the case with the continuous flow. So we have just 22% of effective usage of that delivered amount of oxygen. And that's basically how a pulse dose system is working. And again, going back to the trigger sensitivity, if the trigger sensitivity is not sensitive enough, this amount of oxygen will be probably delivered here. Right, and then you can't use the oxygen won't be used in total. So therefore, it is important to have a very sensitive device which delivers the oxygen at the right amount of time. And here we have no oxygen wasted because it is a pulse dose system and not a continuous flow system. On a different note, every POC delivers oxygen by using a minute volume method. That method is really common for all portable oxygen concentrators on the market. Very simple formula to calculate the bolus. Just take the to get the bolus, you have to use the target minute volume divided by the breath rate. And so, in my example here, we assume the patient is using the unit on setting 2 and has a breath rate at 20 breaths per minute. And that basically ends up in 22 milliliters per breath. As we just learned, that is more or less reflecting 2 liters per minute continuous flow. Now you see here the 5 settings with the additional setting of the smart dose. And each setting has a predefined total volume per minute. That is not changing. This is what the device is producing in the respective setting. So if we take this as an example, the device is producing 440 milliliters per minute. Now we take the example again with the 20 breaths per minute. So the patient gets at setting 2, 22 milliliters at 20 breaths per minute. What happens if the patient is increasing his breath rate? Well, the bolus is decreasing up to a point where the patient will definitely be deoxygenated. And that is how every PLC is working. So what usually the patient does is he is increasing his prescription setting to be oxygenated again. And he shouldn't do that. He shouldn't even bother to change settings because of his increased breath rate. Now the smart dose feature is chipping in. So the smart dose technology, as already mentioned, is continuously monitoring the breathing patterns and automatically adjusts the oxygen dose to match the patient activity level. The 5 pulse dose settings, they are running on a fixed minute algorithm by default, as already explained here. Every setting has one specific volume. So the bolus per breath is determined by number of patient breaths per minute. This is the baseline. So the patient sits at home, is reading a newspaper, is relaxed, and the device is, he's using the device and the device is measuring his breath rate, and consider after a couple of breaths, that's my baseline. Then the patient stands up, is walking around, so he has a light activity increase and small changes with his breath rate. The system is tracking that information, but does not necessarily change that the oxygen increase, the bolus. So it is adding that to the new baseline without any increase, that information. And then the patient is leaving the house, for example, is going upstairs or uphill or downhill, whatever, something which really does increase his breath rate fast enough and is increasing the breath rate to reach the trigger point, the threshold. If the device is recognizing that, then the flow will be increased. How do we increase that? The patient still sees on his display setting 2, but now based on that information here, the increased activity fast enough and enough breath rates, the device will increase the motor speed and will have then a delivery, will then start with the delivery volume at setting 3. Still, the patient has 2 in his display. So that said, in the example, 20 breaths per minute, 22 milliliters, bolus. Now the patient is increasing his breath rate, that in the standard mode would have caused a bolus decrease to 17.6, which is not good enough. But with SmartDose and the increased motor speed, the patient will get 29 milliliters, up to the point where the patient is decreasing again his breath rate. Maybe he has achieved his the point where he wanted to go, and now he's relaxing again and decreasing the breath rate, and then the device is switching back to 440 milliliters per minute, and that's ongoing as long as the patient is using the device. And this is as well here a little bit reflected on the 2 other charts we see here. Here you see the fixed minute volume and the effect. If the breath rate is increasing, the dose, the bolus will decrease. And vice versa, with SmartDose, the breath rate is increasing, and so we increase as well the delivered oxygen and automatically decreases it again. So on a summary, all portable oxygen concentrators using a minute volume technology, which usually or which can require setting changes because of higher breath rates and the higher demand for oxygen. The SmartDose technology enables a breath rate controlled oxygen therapy. So we are making sure the patient is always getting enough oxygen regardless what he is doing. And the SmartDose algorithm monitoring the patient breath rate change and responding to it. Therefore, a manual adjustment is no longer necessary. And that means SmartDose is giving the patient the peace of mind and freedom they have been looking for. And that's all about my presentation. I hope everybody...
check if we've got any questions. Okay.
Okay.
Then I'll repeat the question to you and you can respond. All right. Thanks. Everybody clear on the SmartDose, the application? Pretty clear?
Well, I might add one. Let's say the prescribed. Now, do you understand that? Let's say the iGo2 can increase and decrease automatically, right? So does that mean with the machine doing that currently, you do not really have to set any settings for your tube, and you know the person's going to walk. You do not have to go to, let's say, setting 3, for example, manually. You can leave it on 2, and then the monitor or the machine will monitor that and actually increase automatically.
Yeah. Dirk, I don't know if you got all of that.
Parts of it. It's about whether the device, whether the setting needs to be changed or can be left in the prescription setting. Is this right? Right. Yes. Yeah. But if the patient doesn't have to bother about his setting, your setting, again, for example, the setting is at 2, and the patient has SmartDose activated, and then the device is automatically responding to his activity. It is switching only one setting, so it will not increase to 5. it will be just one, but as we have seen, that one setting increase is making sure that the patient gets the right amount of oxygen based on the calculation. It is, I've received that question quite a couple of times. Why not increasing it like, for example, a CPAP device, an auto CPAP device? And so the device would then increase from, for example, from 2 to 5 and going backwards, because you have to make sure that as well the battery duration time is not affected by going up and down that much. That is very important because the battery usage time at setting 5 is decreased in comparison of setting 2.
Okay. Thank you, Dirk. That was great. We appreciate your time. Sorry we were delayed at the start.
Not a problem at all.
We'll catch up soon.
Okay, then I wish you a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.